This game was played by Napoleon Bonaparte with the white pieces, the famous French emperor, versus Madame de Remusat, and the game was played in 1804, so 220 years ago, so a long time. And Napoleon started with knight to c3, which is a very uncommon move. Much better and more common is knight to f3, and the reason is very simple, is that after e5 you can play e4, for example. It's a very flexible move, you don't have to play this, but this is one of the options. And in these types of structures, the knight is very well placed on f3, because you very rarely want to play f4, the king's gambit, because the king's gambit invites some queen to h4 check ideas, and so there are some great attacking chances for black. Knight to c3 is regarded as a much worse move, because after d5 you don't really want to play d4, because in this type of structures you very much want to play c4 a lot of the time. And c4 here, the queen's gambit is a lot more solid than the king's gambit, because there are no checks when the queen comes on a5, and it's much safer because you don't weaken the king with this f-pawn move. So Napoleon goes with knight to c3. We have e5 and knight to f3. This pawn is attacked and you cannot advance to e4 because it's defended by the knight. So we have d6 and e4. And now f5, which is not a great move because it does not really accomplish anything, and it does weaken the black king, because now this is this diagonal for the white queen that can come in and put some pressure later on in the game on that king, and there is no threat of winning this pawn because it's protected by knight. Napoleon plays h3, which is not a good move either, because it does not accomplish anything. There is no piece that can come on g4, just not a good move. With f takes e4, and knight takes e4. Knight to c6, and now a blunder from Napoleon is knight to g5, and it's a blunder because of d5 attacking this knight, which is the only defender of this knight, which is attacked by the queen. So one of the two knights is going to have to move. Well, this knight has to move because it's threatened by the pawn, and if this knights move, you can take this knight. But Napoleon has some resources, and he plays queen to h5 check, now threatening the queen, the king. And you see the problem with moving your f-pawn. g6 and queen back to f3. Both knights are still hanging, because if you move the knight, this knight is hanging. But if you take either of the knights, well, not if you take this knight, you can recapture it, but if you take this knight, like pawn takes, there would be queen f7 checkmate, which would be an issue, obviously. So Madame de Remusat is going to defend. The best move would have been bishop to f5, because you defend against the checkmate, and you're still threatening to take this knight, not even with the not with the bishop, because there would be checkmate, but you're still threatening to take this knight, and if this knight moves, you win the knight over there. So this would be the best move to win a piece out of the opening and beat the Emperor Napoleon. But instead instead we have knight to h6 to defend against checkmates. But knight to f6 has another drawback, is that it was defending. Knight to h6 was while it was on g8, it was defending f6, and now it gives away this square. So we have knight to f6 check. The king has only one move because f7 is guarded by this knight, and d8, d7 by this knight. So we have king to e7. Wait. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. This is knight to f6 like this. I just put knight on the wrong square. Like that. This is the position. So we have knight takes d5 check. Kings comes back to d6. That's not the best move, but the other moves are losing as well. But at least the other moves would have put up a better resistance. We have knight to e4 check. The king should still go back to either one of those two squares. It would still be a very difficult position to hold. In fact, it will be losing. But here we have king takes knight, and this is a mistake because there is now a mate and checkmate in 3 moves. Feel free to pause the video if you want to find it. The move is bishop to c4 check. The bishop is preventing the king from retreating. The knight is stopping the king from going anywhere. If you advance with the king, you're going to get checkmated like so. Well, like in the game, but it starts with king over there, king takes, check, attack, and check. There might be something faster, but actually you can also take the bishop. And now we have queen to b3 check, which forces the king into this only square. King to d4. And now we have queen to d3 checkmate, because the knight is controlling this square and the queen is controlling all the other squares.